If you saw that 39,000 people signed up for the June LSAT and your first thought was, we're cooked, I get it. I mean, that is a huge number, one of the biggest LSATs we've seen in years, almost double the number of people who took it in April. And so every Reddit thread, every Discord, every prep group right now is saying the same thing, that scores are going to explode, the curve's going to break, the cycle's already over. I want you to take a breath because that reaction right there is what costs people points. Panic can push you to make decisions based out of fear instead of strategy. And the people who stay calm through this are going to walk into a way smaller, way less competitive next cycle with more leverage than serious applicants have seen in years. Now, I've been teaching the LSAT for 20 years now. I was coaching the LSAT when Logic Games came off the test in 2024, when they rolled out remote testing in 2020, when the test went digital in 2019. And every time something big shifts, the same pattern plays out. People panic, they make bad decisions under pressure, and the ones who keep their heads screwed on straight come out ahead. So I want to walk you through what's actually happening with the upcoming June LSAT. There are 5 things people are panicking about right now. Some of them are pure noise, some are real, and I want you to be able to tell which is which. So you should know first and foremost that this is the last fully remote LSAT. After June, the LSAT goes back to in-person testing for almost everybody. LSAC will still allow some remote testing for people who have documented needs, but we don't really know yet how strict the bar is going to be. And so for a lot of test takers, June will be the last shot at taking the LSAT from home, the last chance to take it at your own desk rather than going to a Prometric testing center, sitting next to strangers and hoping nothing goes wrong. So a lot of people are scrambling to grab the last remote LSAT slot. Some have been studying for months and were planning to take it in June anyway. Fine, but a huge chunk aren't actually ready for the June LSAT, and so they're treating this like a deadline they've got to beat instead of a goal they're prepared for. And they're signing up basically out of FOMO, not because they're really hitting their target. Now, when Logic Games came off the LSAT back in 2024, it made a lot of people think the LSAT got easier, and that's not necessarily true. It actually got harder in some ways. Logical reasoning and reading comp are the entire test now. There's no section you can just diagram your way through. For every section, you've got to have careful reading and be able to track arguments well. And so the people who signed up thinking the new LSAT is easier are about to find out otherwise. Now, there are a lot of LSAT score holds from people who took it in November and January. It spooked a lot of people into wanting one more shot at the LSAT before things get worse. And so all of this is combining into one larger LSAT registration number. But none of it means that the average test taker is suddenly stronger at logical reasoning than they were 6 months ago. The first big thing you got to think about is, does 39,000 registrants really mean there's more competition? You got to consider that registration is not the same thing as those who will actually test. Every LSAT loses between 15 to 25% of registrants between sign-up and test day. I've seen this through every single LSAT administration I've been teaching for over the past 20 years. And so that 39,000 number will probably drop down to maybe around 30,000 actually showing up, maybe less. We call this melt in the industry. People will withdraw from the LSAT when their practice scores stop going up. They push it back to August once they realize they're not ready. Some people no-show on test day. Some register early as a placeholder, and then some sign up impulsively and never really study, so they have to push it back. Now, the people most likely to melt and drop off are not the ones scoring 170 plus on their practice tests. It's the ones who are scoring well below their goal. Those who are testing well, testing strong, they tend to keep their dates. Anxious test takers don't. So look at November and January as precedents. Both had really big registration spikes that turned into much smaller actual testing numbers. The high scores stayed on, they held steady, but everybody else dropped out at much higher rates. But the headline number you got to know is the ceiling. The real number is a lot smaller. And the part of that real number actually competing for top scores is smaller still. The other thing you got to remember is that the LSAT is not curved against those taking it on your specific LSAT test date. If you score at a 170 level, you get a 170. Doesn't matter if 5,000 people took the LSAT that day or if 50,000 took it that day. Doesn't matter if everybody did better or worse than usual. Your score is based on your raw performance adjusted for the difficulty of the LSAT test form that you saw. There is no curve against the people who happened to take it that morning. And people miss this constantly. They assume more people taking it means a harder cutoff, but that's not how scaled scoring works. The scale is set against the difficulty of the question, not the performance of that day's testers. And there have been bigger LSATs in the past. The October 2009 LSAT had over 60,000 testers, 60,000, which is way more than June 2026 is going to see even at registration. And even within the virtual era over the past 6-7 years, this is not unprecedented. The June 2021 LSAT had over 42,000 registrations during the pandemic, bigger than this coming June. And the world didn't end. People who took it in 2021 still got into law school. People who took it in 2009 still got into law school. The world didn't collapse. Now, the reason the June LSAT feels different is that LSAT didn't run as many tests back in 2009. Back then, they only offered the LSAT 4 times a year. Now they have it 8 times a year. And so the same yearly testing volume gets spread thinner across more dates, which makes any given LSAT administration look smaller in isolation. Until you get a big one, everybody freaks out. And so this 39,000 number is big, but it's not a catastrophic doomsday number. The second thing people are worrying about is LSAT score inflation. We will probably see some score inflation, it's true, from the June LSAT because of who's taking it. There are a lot of repeat testers trying to push their scores up. This might be the strongest cohort of repeat testers we've seen in years, all converging on one administration, maybe because it is the last remote LSAT. So there will be more 170s and 175s than usual. The scores at the top of the curve will get compressed a little bit, but what law schools always care about is their reported medians. They want their numbers to look good for US News. And so if your school's median is a 165 and you score 169, you're a number that helps them. Doesn't matter when you took it. And you're not getting compared to all the other people who took it that day. You're getting compared to other people applying to that specific school for that specific seat in that specific cycle. And if the medians at top schools rise because more people are scoring high, those schools fight harder for high scores. They're not going to fight less hard because they need them more to defend their numbers. Scholarship numbers go to people who help them maintain their stats. So the value of a strong score actually goes up even more when the medians rise. Now, what you've got to avoid is being stuck right at the median because that's where the competition is. That's where applicants get treated as being interchangeable. Most of the panic about a crowded cycle comes from people sitting at the median. So if you're aiming for a 160 at a 160 median school, yeah, the volume is going to feel scary because then you're going to be competing on the softs. Your resume, your application essays, your personal statement, letters of rec, where you went to undergrad, anything that can break the tie. But if you can push your score to 165 plus, 170 or so, you are then significantly above the line where schools are going to fight for you. So take, for example, a top 14 law school with a 173 LSAT median. If you apply with a 173, you might get in with a smaller scholarship, maybe $10,000 or $15,000. You apply with a 170 and you're below the bar for that school. Then you're just fighting just to get accepted and no scholarship money for you. But if you apply with a 176, 3 points above their median, then schools start giving you money. We're talking $60, $90, maybe $120,000 in scholarship money over the course of 3 years. So the same applicant, same softs, same essays, but a different LSAT score by 6 points, the financial difference could be 6 figures. So that is not just study a little bit harder, it's you could pick a different career path because of being able to graduate without debt. So in a busier cycle, in a more competitive cycle, the gap grows. When people are nervous about defending their medians, the schools are going to pay more for the scores that protect them. And so when you hear somebody panicking about the June LSAT inflating scores, ask which side of the inflation you're on. If you're a high scorer, this works in your favor. If you're a median scorer, the answer is not to hope that fewer people apply. The answer is to raise your score and retake it to get above the median of your target school. And I know this will upset some people, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you've been studying for 6 months and you're still at the median for your target school, the LSAT is not your real problem. Your prep approach is your real problem. And waiting for a less competitive cycle is not going to fix that. You're either going to do the work to get above the median, or you're going to keep losing scholarship money every cycle. Waiting for an easier cycle is not going to save you because the scores just keep inflating. Now, a lot of folks are thinking they've got to sign up now or cram right now, do or die, this is it. But while the LSAT as a whole is incredibly important, no one particular LSAT test date is going to make or break you. You can always retake it. The LSAT's offered 8 times a year beyond June. We've got August, September, October, November. You could theoretically even take the LSAT in January or February and still apply this coming cycle. I don't think you need to wait that long, of course. It's better to apply earlier if you can. I think if you're starting now, you could probably knock it out in August or September at the latest. But the LSAT's not something that you cram for. It's not a test of memorization, it's pattern recognition. The LSAT punishes rushing, it rewards depth. The students I've seen take 30 practice tests over 4 months and improve by 2 points, they're not going about it the right way. But if you take 10 practice tests over 4 months with brutally honest review, you can improve 15, 20 points. It's about depth, and that takes time. If you're not currently signed up for the June LSAT and you're thinking about jumping into it, don't do it. Go for August or September. A bad LSAT score will follow you for years. It will dictate the rest of your career. It's not worth it. Taking it in person is not the end of the world. Even if you got to do it in person in August or September or beyond, that's totally fine. So stay calm. Use the next few weeks or the next few months to do deep, slow, painful review on the questions that you keep missing. And that's going to be the biggest way that you can boost up your score whenever you're taking the LSAT. Better to take the LSAT a couple months later and apply with a higher score than take it earlier when you're not really ready and apply with a lower score. Ultimately, if you take it in June or August or September, you're still applying right when applications open in September, when it's easier to get in, and there's also more scholarship money available.